One of the most common questions that we get is we go to work with agents and they're like, Josh, I'm there on the auction room floor or I'm there on the street working the buyers. What do I say? How do I get the buyer to bid like literally against themselves? How do I get the buyer to bid up 10 grand more? What is it that I can do to just get that one extra bid, because it would be the difference between us getting close and hitting reserve and ultimately the property passing in. You know what I always say is that, you know what, it's not about that particular moment. It's about everything that you've done leading up to that moment that actually has the depth of relationship with the buyer. Now, what are we talking about here? You know what, most agents are in a position, oh look, the property's open on Saturday, it's open midweek. Why don't you do a private buyer appointment and build a better quality relationship with the buyer? Find out why this one, why else, why now? Why this one really gets you clear on the motivation of what attracted them to that particular property. What else? Maybe there's something else that's really driving that decision. And why now? What's actually the number one reason why they're looking to do a transaction today? That's what a great agent does. Then in addition to that, get that buyer back for another appointment to come and see the home at least the day before auction, so that naturally they can fall back in love with the asset that they want to go and own. When they get to auction day, make sure that you explain everything that's going to go on. Do some great buyer coaching about how they're going to pay the deposit, what a contract looks like, whether or not they need their solicitor there on the day, how you exchange contracts, if they've done it before, what it actually looks like. And always remind them that ultimately the buyer that bids first is usually the one that goes to buy. Then when you're in the middle of the auction, you can walk up to the buyer and you can just have a great friendly conversation. Well, today's the day. We're here. This is your chance to get into ownership. What would it take for you to bid next? Is now the time that ultimately you're going to sit on your hands, or is now the time that you're going to pursue the home that you really want? You've done all the research. This is the moment where ultimately you get to make the decision if you want to be into ownership. You know what? It might look expensive now, but it's going to look cheap in 6 months' time. This is what it takes to become a phenomenal property owner. Could I say 10 for you? Would you let me say 20? Is now the difference that you're going to make that decision from being a buyer to actually being someone who's an owner and getting into the market to write up all the capital gains. That's what you got to do. You got to literally start to think about the filler words, the conversations that you can have, but the confidence that really you can go and build with that buyer to get them to bid on that day. Everything is about the depth of relationship, being able to then reference the recent sales, new properties to market. You know this is better than Jones Street because ultimately it's got the rear yard access. And that's the thing that makes the difference in you being able to get buyers to bid more often, because you've got that depth of relationship that changes everything. Welcome to being a great agent in really understanding the depth of relationships with the buyers that you have. Understanding of their urgency is the thing that's going to get them to bid up and to buy properties at higher price points than you've ever been able to achieve before. Build the relationships and watch the difference come auction day.